Our next speaker is Russell Hillenburg. He's president and CEO of Woven Metal Products, and he's going to talk about maximizing plant reliability. So everybody please give Russell a warm welcome.
Thank you very much. As said, I'm President and CEO of Woven Metal Products. Woven Metal Products has been in the internals, separation, specialty fabrication business for over 60 years. I've been in the industry for over 20. So I started my career in the space of doing maintenance and reliability. I was running turnarounds and have been out and crawling all over your plants and others for many years before coming in and becoming part of the fabrication, engineering, design team at Woven Metal Products. What you'll see behind me is our facility. We have continuously grown year over year. We do all of our fabrication in our ISO certified facility just south of Houston, Texas in Alvin. And there's three really key values to who we are, and that is reliable quality, partnership attitude, and attention to detail. When you're thinking about internals, so that's the stuff that we can't see. And so it's everything that we're talking about that's inside the vessels, that's inside the separators, that's inside the mold sieves. And our facility is capable of doing all of that in-house. And so we are equipped for the job. And what we mean by that is we're not outsourcing these products. So on that 2 a.m. on Sunday when you call and you are in a bind, we handle it. What does it also mean is that we control not only the schedule, we also control the quality. And so whether we're engineering it, whether we're doing replacement in kind, whether we're helping you out of a jam, or we're just doing something planned, we are the fabricator. And that's very unique in some of our spaces because a lot of others are outsourcing most of their work and then just packaging. So being the one that's controlling your engineering all the way through to it getting to your plant is a really big deal. We service lots of different types of industries. We've been servicing refining and petrochem as our foundation for over 60 years, and we understand what right now means. So maintenance really matters, and that's what we're here to talk about today. Is we are not in ideal operating conditions, and we are very, very hard on equipment. And as you heard before, unplanned outages are very expensive. They are hard on our people. They are hard on revenue. It is not good to have an unplanned outage. And so we see a big portion of that is process maintenance. And because we're dealing with things that you can't see, like you see here. So you might have something like mist elimination. You might have something like beer column trays. You might have outlets in your mold sieves. Most people, you don't get to see those very often. So you really don't know what's going on. And so we take that maintenance and reliability side very seriously. Obviously, when we're doing new construction, we're designing for that expected life. But as we all know, that expected life is never what it really looks like. And so we've cycled it more times than we thought, or we've had unplanned outages that cause damaged equipment. We've had power outages. We've had crashes. There's lots of different things that will cause equipment to fail, and then we get pictures like this. And so and those of us that have been in industry a long time, I'd love to say these pictures are unique, but they're not. And so if we're not doing the proper maintenance, this is what we see. So we see things like fouling. We're all dealing with corrosion every day, thermal stress, mechanical damage. All of these different types are having an impact on your production. And so if we can plan that maintenance better, if we can think about what those things are, we can absolutely have plants running better. And that's our goal. Our goal at the end of the day is your plants running consistently better. And then when we do need to do something, we're planned as well. So what drives that reliability? First off is the right design. And so what I mean by that is was the equipment designed right, design quality to begin with? So something to think about there too is what was your plant designed for? And then what is it actually running at today? And so for our experience, we're pushing equipment harder and harder. We're trying to increase throughputs. And so just because we may have designed it from a quality standpoint to begin with, we might not still be in what we would consider a high-level design quality today for where we're operating. The other thing that's very important is the fabrication precision and the quality of the product you're buying. So that's why we have decided to keep our manufacturing in the United States. That's why we take that reliable quality very seriously. The installation piece of our products is very important. A lot of people take it for granted and say, yeah, it's in the crate, throw it in, we'll go. Well, if I install that mist eliminator, which was very inexpensive, improperly, I just wrecked a compressor, or I just went overhead on my beer column. There's lots of impacts that we've got to be thinking about that's not only from a design build standpoint, but also from an installation standpoint. So we are not an installer, but we work closely with all of your installers and your turnaround companies and your maintenance guys so that they properly install the products that we're building. We encourage them to come to our facility in Alvin, Texas and say, let us teach you how to do this. Let us be a part of your process of getting it installed properly so that your team is prepared. And then the next is a maintenance strategy. If we expect this to run a year, let's not be surprised at year 3 we're seeing failures. So let's have some real thought around what do we expect out of this equipment, and then let's come up with a plan with how we're going to do it. And reliability begins long before failure occurs. And that's something if you're going to take one thing away, that's what we're chasing, is that consistent reliability. But we got to be thinking about it long before. So from our perspective, choosing the right internals is absolutely key to plants running properly. And it is not a one-size-fits-all. We need to look at each individual plant, each individual problem. We've all been across, and we've had lots of these panels where we talk about, well, they're seeing this problem over here. Well, we've never seen that. Well, why? Is it a difference in the way we're handling the feed? Is it a different temperature? What are those differences that are changing that? Are we operating that unit longer? Are we trying to get a shorter run out of it? Are we seeing contaminants? What all is driving our process conditions? Because we're always trying to balance that process and mechanical. And then we've got to look at, there's lots of opportunities for optimization, but that doesn't mean you need it. And so we need to talk about a little bit replacement in kind versus optimizing and upgrading. So when we're talking about our turnarounds, or we're talking about upgrades, or even routine maintenance, some of the common pitfalls are incomplete scope. We do not see a clear, here's what we need. And if you don't know, that's our job. Come see us, come talk to us. Here's what we're seeing. Let's talk about our scope. We're missing components. We don't have the right information. Great, let's gather it. Let's do that as a team. And then the biggest one is last-minute decisions. If we make decisions early, we can get materials readily available, we can have things staged, we can be ready for your teams and ready for, even if that emergency comes, we've got something sitting on the shelf for you. We do stock and release. We do inventory. There's lots of different opportunities there, but you've got to think, and your keys is, am I doing a good plan for where I'm headed? And then look for areas for improvement. So the reasons to consider upgrades isn't just because, hey, you need an upgrade. A lot of units, they're running fine, there is no need. But are we seeing recurring failures? Are we having mechanical problems? Are we having capacity constraints? If we're doing our flow charting and we're looking at things and saying, hey, you know what, if we've got a bottleneck right here, if we could change that one bottleneck, we could increase throughput by 5% or 2%, whatever it may be, all of a sudden that makes a whole lot of economical sense to start upgrading equipment. And then the other thing is, as we all know, energy is becoming more and more expensive every day. Are we having inefficiencies in our energy usage? So a real world example of this is you have what I would consider a standard outlet collector, which would be something like at the bottom of your mold sieve if you haven't seen it. And so your sieve is sitting on top of this, and then you're doing your cycles up and down, and then of course eventually replacing your sieve. And the open area on that outlet is probably about equivalent to the size of the pipe. This is a patented product that Woven Metal Products offers, and that is called our outlet support grid, our OSG. What did we do there? What we did there is we made what would be a standard small outlet that matches the pipe size, and we made it the entire size of the vessel. So we're going at the tangent, line to line. So what happens? So what we're able to do now is we're getting better flow through the bed. We're getting better open area. If I have some pluggage, I'm good. And anytime I have an upset, I'm not potentially disrupting my outlet. So very easy install. It installs in less than a shift. And from a process optimization standpoint, I've absolutely optimized the process. So if I look at the CFD modeling on this, I can see, I know I improved the mechanical, but I can also see I drastically improved the process side. So we put this in a mold sieve application, and we ran a lot of tests and we looked at things. And to make a very long story short, their sieves were so much more efficient, it paid for the entire turnaround and the entire equipment in 90 days. Now, I can't tell you that's exactly what your scenario is going to be, but what I can tell you is as we start to design these types of equipment, and we have lots of these that we can talk about, as we start to design and talk about it for your plant, we can see areas for optimization. And so as we're going down and we start talking about this, let's think about, hey, should we put an OSG in the mold sieves? Should we increase the efficiency of your trays or your beer column? What should we be looking at to optimize? And just because there's a better product out there, maybe that's not what we need. Predicting maintenance needs is very important. So what to track and monitor? So are you watching your repeated failure points? If you're not, you should be. Because the first question that we should be asking you is where are you seeing failures? What's going wrong in that piece of equipment, in your unit, in your plant? What wearing are you seeing? Are you tracking wear in certain areas? So where we've got separators or we've got screens, we build a lot of screens. We build a lot of separating screens, a lot of filter screens. Those wear. What does our wear rate look like? So then we can predict if we're losing so much year over year, we can predict a lifespan for that. So instead of getting to failure, we actually know when it's going to fail. And then let's back up, put a safety factor on it, and say that's when we should replace it. Are you seeing from a process standpoint changes in output? And so if we're seeing changes in output anywhere or changes in process conditions, we've got a problem on internals. Pretty much that's what we see. If we can see that, it could be a mechanical problem. It could be a process problem. It could be we're trying to push it too much. There's lots of reasons why. But if we have that data to work with you, we can then say, okay, yeah, we would expect to see that. You're trying to get 10% more throughput on these trays and you're flooding them. That's not going to work. We got to do something different. Or the process conditions of that mold sieve won't allow that. But I bet we can change something and maybe we can't. Or maybe we need to add a sieve or whatever it may be. And then are you looking at all the technologies to properly monitor your equipment? We see across the board, and this is from refining, petrochem, ethanol, doesn't matter. We see across the board different levels of sophistication of monitoring equipment. What I will tell you is we've seen many times over that if you're properly monitoring it, you can drastically predict failure or you can drastically predict maintenance needs way ahead of what you would without properly monitoring it. So creating a predictive maintenance plan. So if you're going to come and be really successful and we're going to be a good partner to you, build that failure log and build it across your entire units. We may not be the right answer for all of them. That's fine. But if we have that log in front of us to say, this is where we're seeing failures and this is where we're seeing trending, review your previous turnaround reports. And this is an area where you cannot take enough pictures. We love to go through pictures with you because we will see things maybe your inspector didn't see. Or maybe we can help say, look, this is why we're thinking this. It's a great justification. And so those turnaround reports or those maintenance reports, bringing those to the table only adds value for you. It just helps build the case for what you need to do in your units. I cannot reiterate this enough. Bring your fabrication partners in early. It costs you nothing, but we can start to provide solutions or ideas, or here's what we've seen other places. When you've been doing it as long as we've been doing it, we've seen a lot. We can help share that knowledge with you just as you're sharing knowledge with us, and we can help you understand, yeah, we've seen that before and here's the why. But if we're coming in late We don't have time to talk about why. We have time to talk about, okay, let's get your unit back up and running right now. And that's the only thing we're focused on. Create a watch list for things that are near end of life. Have the forethought and be thinking forward to what am I forecasting and better forecasting of what are my needs. So that our goal there is we want to reduce the emergency fabrication. We don't like doing it at 2 a.m. on a Sunday. None of us do. So if we can stop that, we help the industry, and that's our goal. And then we're making smarter replacement decisions. So for the group, choosing the right internals is critical. And planning a turnaround or maintenance outage with purpose is a true key value that is being lost in industry today, in our opinion. Anything we can do to help you in that, that is our job. And the other thing is consider upgrades versus replacements. And so just because somebody says we can upgrade doesn't mean you should. And we'll be the first one to tell you that. Know the why of why you're doing an upgrade. And then if you think that's needed, then let's choose which upgrade is right for you. There's lots of alternatives out there, and there is no one size fits all. I've had too many conversations where somebody walks in the room and says, hey, the guys down the street did this. I'll say, that's great. That works for their unit. However, yours runs differently. So let's talk about what we're going to do for yours. And then if you didn't get anything else, create a predictive maintenance plan. And if you don't know how to do that, bring in partners like Woven Metal Products or others in the industry that have the industry experience that can help. There is the question not asked, is the only stupid one. And so if you don't know, or your teams don't know, or you'd like to train your teams, we will gladly come in and talk and teach. And we see that as a long-term partnership. And so, the part of our key value is the partnership attitude. And to be a good partner to everybody in the room, that's our goal. That's what sustained us as a U.S. provider for 60 years, and that's what we see sustaining us long-term. Don't wait for failure or we think this will work to drive your decisions. Have a plan and know.